You're listening to Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast, where we dive into holistic nutrition, biomedical treatments, functional medicine, low toxicant living, and developmental strategies with a special focus on children with complex picky eating, developmental delays, and neurodevelopmental disorders. I'm your host, Shandy Lasky, integrative speech-language pathologist, pediatric feeding specialist, functional nutritional therapy practitioner, and Epidemic Answers certified health coach. Together, we are changing the conversation around how we view, discuss, prevent, and treat these childhood epidemics. I am so honored to have your time and attention today. Thank you for joining me and for all of your support. Please note that this podcast is for educational purposes only and should never be misconstrued as medical advice or a replacement for individualized care from your trusted providers. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast. You're listening to Season 2, Episode 5, Anxiety, the Nervous System, and Your Child's Complex Picky Eating. If you have not listened to the episodes in the Picky Eating series leading up to this one, I highly encourage that you do. The content today builds off of those. Today is a big topic, and we're going to cover it from a very introductory level perspective. This is the 5th and final episode of the Picky Eating series this week as part of the launch promotion week for my new online course, Naturally Navigating Picky Eating, for parents of children with complex picky eating with and without developmental conditions. When you enroll before Saturday, May 18th at 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, you'll receive access to the launch bonus of 3 live group Q&As at no extra cost. That is a bonus valued at $700, available at no extra cost for you when you enroll during this week's launch promotion. If you're ready to actually get your children to eat new foods, to only make one meal at dinner time for your entire family to enjoy together, if you're ready to expand your child's list of accepted foods and feel more confident about their nutritional intake, if you're ready to set the foundations for your child to develop a healthy relationship with food and their body, if you're ready to let go of all of the pressure and bring more peace to your family's mealtimes, then I would love to see you inside before the launch promotion ends and this launch bonus goes away. If you're listening to this after the launch has already ended, you can still join the course and have all the access to the supplemental resources, the course curriculum, all of the assets that are included, including the guides, the journal prompts, the food and mood journal, even access to the exclusive Facebook community group where you can write in your questions to clarify the course content or to share wins, encourage others, connect with other parents. You still have access to all of that, but you will not have access to these 3 live group Q&As that are part of this week's launch bonus promotion. In the future, you may have access. My hope is that I will be able to provide some type of live element in cohorts moving forward that those who sign up outside of launches are able to opt into with an access pass in some type of way. But I haven't sorted through all of those details yet, so I can't make any promises, but just so you know, that is what I'm thinking. So if it sounds like a good fit, I would love to see you inside. So let's talk today about anxiety, the nervous system, and your child's complex picky eating. I've discussed the nervous system here before, and it probably will not be my last time because I'm certain it won't be my last time because it is such an integral part of what we're really talking about here when we're talking about children with complex picky eating, especially those who have a very heightened anxiety, or those who have developmental conditions and or chronic health conditions. who also have this complex picky eating. Now, I'm speaking very generally here. We're not going to get into all the anatomy and physiology of the nervous system and all of that. I kind of go deeper into that in the gut health episode in season 1 of the podcast, where we talk about the enteric nervous system and the gut brain connection and things like that. We sort of get into it. But today I want to talk about the nervous system from a regulation standpoint. Think about the central nervous system, more specifically the brain and the spinal cord, and think about, so in our peripheral nervous system is our limbs and our nerve cells sending information and to the body from the brain and to the brain from the body. It is this communication of our body. We are electrical beings, and our nervous system is like that key player in that. And for us, for our purposes today, when we're thinking about anxiety, I want us to just think about how can we help support your child with complex picky eating and their anxiety around food and meal times. How can we decrease that anxiety by helping to regulate their nervous system and support their nervous system, meaning increase a sense of safety and well-being for them within their body, a regulated, calm, centered, rest and digest way of being. How can we help create that? Some kids, for whatever various reasons, have this heightened sensory system already and a heightened nervous system. And so when they come into meal times, and especially when you're using pressure tactics, which hopefully you're not, because we have talked about that in this series. But I know it's only been a week, right? So you're putting in the changes, you're implementing the plan. But by this point, you know the importance of not using the pressure tactics. And if not, definitely go back and listen to those episodes that led up to this one, because we cover it there. One way that we can support your child's nervous system regulation and decrease that anxiety when it comes to food and meal times is by adding in or thinking about, not even necessarily adding in, but thinking about how we can tailor the environment as an external support. How can we make the environment more calm to support a more calm nervous system and a more regulated child? So this might look like making sure that the TV is off during meal times, making sure that there aren't screens at meal times or anything chaotic going on at meal times, whatever that might look like. I mean, I know some of you are thinking, meal times are chaotic at my house in general, and that may be true. But what can you do, even if it is a small change, to just take down that chaos, I guess, for lack of a better word here? That's what we're talking about. What can we do to just take it down a notch and keep taking it down a notch? Whether that looks like going for more natural lighting versus the fluorescent lighting, or making sure that there aren't any intensive scents other than just what's happening at the mealtime. There shouldn't be any scents that you can smell, but think about things like fragrant candles, or I don't know, other, the wax melts and even essential oils, right? Even things that are natural can still be overwhelming or overstimulating in certain times that you're already in that heightened, hypersensitive state. So what we're wanting to do is bring it back to a calm environment so that we can be giving the external cues to help your child get into that rest and digest nervous system state. One of the things that we talked about in the last episode was regulating yourself and maintaining a neutral composure to the best of your ability so that you're not adding fuel to the fire during meal times. One of the best ways that you can help your child be more regulated is to work on your own nervous system regulation, whatever that looks like for you. There are many different ways to get to the same destination, and regulating your nervous system, it's not like you get to the destination and you go, oh well, okay, I'm all set here, my nervous system is regulated. There are things that you do on a day-to-day basis. It's your lifestyle, it's the way you maintain your life to maintain that regulated nervous system state. If your child experiences a lot of anxiety and you know that their nervous system is dysregulated, has been dysregulated for quite some time, then you must ask yourself, what is dysregulating your child's nervous system? I just want to mention here that sometimes there are certain biochemical and or nutritional factors that are involved with complex picky eating that directly influence the central nervous system, like pathogens, for example. So, a prime example of this are kiddos who have PANS-PANDAS conditions. Some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about, and some of you don't. So, for those of you who don't, just a very brief introduction here. PANS, which is pediatric acute onset neuropsychiatric syndrome. Think about that as like the overarching umbrella. And then PANDAS is under the umbrella of PANS, but it is specifically associated with strep infections. So PANDAS is a PANS condition specific to strep, but there are also PANS conditions that present very similarly to what I'm about to describe, but the trigger is not strep. So the trigger often is Lyme or other co-infections, tick-borne infections, and or mold, or there are other triggers out there, but those are some top ones that come to mind as we talk about these here. And essentially, this condition is brain inflammation, and the body is going into an autoimmune response that then affects the nervous system function. In the title, Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Syndrome, you'll hear the word acute because I shouldn't even say I don't know what the actual rates are, but when you see these symptoms come on acutely, it's a pretty hallmark symptom or signs of a PANS-PANDAS condition. But I will say that focusing on that word of acute, I've learned can be misleading. Let's just say that. I've learned in the last few years that some of these children will not present in a typical acute onset fashion. Sometimes it's a more gradual onset, especially when it's something like a, a mold issue in the house or something like that. It might be more slow to progress before you really put all the pieces of the puzzle together. But basically, this is going to look like a sudden change in the child's personality or a gradual change. Like I said, it's not always sudden. Changes in their personality, changes in handwriting. Some kiddos have a regression in potty training. Some kiddos develop severe anxiety, specifically anxiety or phobias around meal times. They develop restricted eating. Some kiddos develop a severe separation anxiety, decline in different learning skills that they've had, different educational skills that they've had. They become more sensitive in general to their environment. You may see tics, rage, aggression. It's different depending on the kiddo, and it doesn't always present as the hallmark symptoms. But I feel it's worth mentioning here with that involvement of the central nervous system and the extreme anxiety, as we've talked about, with that restricted eating. Some of these kiddos are misdiagnosed as having an eating disorder, when really it falls more into that pediatric feeding disorder category that we've talked about here on Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast season 1. And so I just wanted to mention that as well, that sometimes you can do all of the external factors to help regulate a kiddo's nervous system. But if after you've exhausted all of your options externally, or if you already know that there's a pathogen, if you've exhausted all those things and you haven't seen the results you want to see, you might start thinking more about, is there something going on internally? And similarly, like we've talked about before, there are nutritional reasons too why, well, biochemical nutritional, where a kiddo would sort of get hooked on certain foods or food compounds, and certain foods also are influencing the nervous system in different ways. I get not even certain foods, all foods, our food, our gut-brain connection, this is all connected to our nervous system and our nervous system regulation, and it's connected back to the anxiety. And so this is the importance of looking at your child from a whole body perspective, a whole child, whole family, holistic perspective, which is exactly what I'm teaching you to do inside of my new online course, Naturally Navigating Picky Eating. If it sounds like a good fit for you, if you would like to continue learning with me and you would like to get more guided support, join us before the doors close, before the launch bonus ends, tomorrow, Saturday, May 18th at 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, to receive those 3 live group Q&A calls at no extra cost to you. I would love to see you inside. If it's not the right fit for the course yet, you can learn more by grabbing my free guide, The Do's and Don'ts for Parents of Complex Picky Eaters, listed in the show notes on speakingofhealthandwellness.com/freebies. Remember, it all goes back to meeting them where they are, to staying neutral, removing the pressure, staying regulated yourself, helping your child become more comfortable with foods and meal times by removing the pressure and increasing the positive learning experiences. You can also get into therapeutic and intervention supports like diet, low toxicant living, primitive reflex integration, specific chiropractic care, or other body work like massage or craniosacral therapy or craniosacral fascial therapy to help regulate the nervous system if something structurally or functionally needs to be addressed. And also simple free things like getting out into nature, getting the natural sunlight in the morning, connecting to the earth, grounding. I know it sounds sort of like, I don't know, people roll their eyes at things like that, but it's scientifically proven that it helps to regulate our nervous system. So get out there, get yourself out there, get your child out there. Utilize some heavy work, be pulling and pushing and making kiddos use their big body muscles, and whether that's inside or outside. But heavy work is also very supportive for nervous system regulation. So all just different ideas of ways to help regulate your own nervous system and regulate your child's nervous system to decrease that anxiety and support during meal times, in addition to all of the other things that I've shared here on Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast, of course. I think that's about it for today, you guys. I hope that this series has been really supportive. I would love to see you inside of Naturally Navigating Picky Eating to continue this conversation and to help support you through this, to help support you and your child. I know that it can be tiring and frustrating and exhausting, and I want to help lift some of that weight off of you and your child. If it sounds like a good fit, check out speakingofhealthandwellness.com/picky-eating-course to enroll in Naturally Navigating Picky Eating. Take care, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks again for listening to Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast. I'm so grateful you've taken the time. For any of the references mentioned in the show, head over to speakingofhealthandwellness.com. If this episode resonated with you or inspired you, it would mean so much to me if you took a moment to subscribe, write a review, share it on social media, or with someone in your life who could really benefit from this information. Your support helps this podcast and the overall message and mission of Speaking of Health and Wellness reach more people. If you share on Instagram, tag me so I can personally thank you for listening. If you're on Facebook, come join our free community group of like-minded parents and professionals. The direct link is in the podcast description. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks again so much, and take care.